Welcome back. Are you guys ready for the final stretch of this NHL season? And by you guys, I mean everybody who's enjoyed all the content here on this channel, and potentially some new viewers who are intrigued because they, like many, watched the Four Nations face-off, scam-off, face-off, scam-off, face-off. I'll let you decide. But if you're one of these new hockey watchers that found the game and you have a new exuberance for the game of hockey and you just want to continue to go headfirst into it, just don't be that chick who studied abroad in Milan. She comes back and goes, oh my, it's all about Milan. When I graduate, I'm living in Milan. It's all about Milan. What happens? Fast forward 2 years, she graduates, never moves to Milan, you never had your car. So don't be one of those. And for all of you, if you ever wondered why over the years, I've always said, if you're one of those people who came here and you just wrote down NHL sniffs, as we call them here, we call them sniffs, like Bon Jovi said, you give sniffs a good name, because usually it comes with some connotations that aren't so good. You say, oh yeah, give me some sniffs. Because here we don't give picks, we give sniffs, because on this channel, as I said a couple years ago off the top of my head, creating more believers than Joel Osteen, because around these parts, sniffing is believing. But there's a reason I said, if you come here and you write down my NHL sniffs and you put them in and watch basketball for the night, I hope you lose. I'll take myself down. I hope I lose. I hope you lose, because that's what you deserve, and that's what you've learned. And that's what everyone has seemed to learn. I see people on First Take like, what's the problem with it? Nobody cares in basketball. They care in hockey. We've always known that. And that's why many of you viewers, many of you have sent me DMs and whatnot. Some of you guys are just batshit crazy out of your mind. Some people, you send me screenshots of, you need 15 screenshots to send me one parlay. That's how many legs are in it. But then some of you say, thank you so much for turning me on to hockey. How can you watch basketball when you know what watching hockey is? Caring versus not caring. And you guys saw that front and center in a tournament that meant truly nothing. There's nothing, like there's no medal they're going to be I mean, did they give them some scam medals that mean nothing? But this isn't an Olympic game. This was a exhibition break, and you saw these guys empty the tank. And I bring up emptying the tank because that probably will have some trickle down on this Saturday slate, this Sunday slate, because think about some of those guys. They played hard, and some of them aren't going to even be playing on the NHL rosters. They mentioned it during the broadcast. They said many of these players are not going to be available for their NHL teams when they return to action on Saturday. So that's something to look for up and down this slate. For example, Sidney Crosby. He wasn't playing before the break, and they said in the game versus the U.S. that he couldn't really shoot because of his grip on the stick. You think he's going to be playing against the Capitals here on Saturday? Pretty sure he's not, which is why he's not listed on any of the sportsbook as of this point. So you're looking at a team like Washington, who's literally the favorite to win the President's Trophy, the team with the most points, playing one of the worst teams in the NHL, who are going to be without their captain and best player, a team that's poor defensively, who doesn't get great goaltending. And the price on Washington is like a minus 155? If this was the NFL, I'd say that's pretty fishy. But coming out of the break, there's so many things. For example, speaking of goaltending, let me ask you something. If you don't play goalie for 13 days, are you likely to be A, the same, B, better, or C, worse? You ever hear of the term, oh, they brought in that goalie cold? Yeah, because that's a rhythm-oriented game. You know, you get this start, this start, this start. You don't play for 10 to 15 days. I always say that after sweeps in the playoffs. So many times. Remember when Bobrovsky, he swept the Carolina Hurricanes in the conference final and then just got shelled in the Stanley Cup final? Andrei Vasilevsky, they swept the Florida Panthers. And then game 1 and 2 against the Rangers, 6 goals, 5 goals, because they rely on that consistency and getting into a groove. It's a very kind of mental position. All these goalies, the majority of them, even ones like Aiden Hill who are on a roster, didn't get any game action. So you could see some softies going in on this slate, and there may be some opportunities, whether you're talking about player props or overs or what have you. I know you casual viewers love overs. This could be a decent slate for some of them, but in this game, if you're a first-time bettor and you see, oh my God, one of the best teams in the NHL, one of the worst teams in the NHL, that seems like a pretty fair price. I would agree with you. I will also say all money line plays are donkey plays. In this NHL, the worst team in the league, the 0-16 Lions from like 2008, could easily beat the undefeated Patriots of the regular season. Easily. It's not even difficult. Oh my God, and then there was a fumble. No, they could easily just win a game 5-1 because of how things are in the NHL. So I think any money line play is a donkey play. With that said, you can lead a donkey to water, but you can't make them sniff it. If you want it, I'll still give it. Washington, minus 155. I wouldn't take that, but here's the little trick that I like to give. If Washington is likely to win a game, even if you're not a hockey fan, I'm sure you've heard the name Alex Ovechkin, right? Well, he's their best offensive player. If you take the Capitals to win with Alex Ovechkin to get a point, now you're getting the Washington Capitals at a price that's probably more worth a sniff. And if you say, but what if that doesn't happen? My response is I'm willing to run the risk that if Washington scores enough goals to win a game, Alex Ovechkin should be on one of them, whether it's a goal or an assist. That's what a point is for you new viewers out there. So if you want, you can go Capitals to win with a Alexander Ovechkin point. All you original sniffers, everybody who knows where the real value is, you open that zipper and you look in there, and it's in the player props. The player props, that's where all the best NHL values are. And if I think Ovechkin's going to get a point, we're seeing a top line, the same top line that they had going into the break. And looking at the dynamics of that line, you have Alex Ovechkin, a natural shooter, a guy in Tom Wilson who gets in front of the goalie, tips pucks, bangs home rebounds, and then the center, the distributor in D.Strome. Now, if this was like a month and a half ago, we'd be getting awful prices, but for some reason, this little break here has brought some of these prices down. You give me a D.Strome assist for like plus 120? That's something I can absolutely get behind. And if you're a guy yelling right now, I took a guy for an assist once and he scored a goal and I'm never doing it again, fine. Fine, you love taking points so much? Then take Strome for the point. Take Ovechkin for the point. You now have them at a plus, 110 bet, plus 120? So there are a lot of great values for these Washington Capitals coming off of this break. Remember, they had everybody rest. Not a single player played in the tournament. On the flip side, you're probably going to have no Sidney Crosby. Raquel played for Sweden. Carlson played for Sweden. A lot of things going right for Washington heading into this game against the Pittsburgh Penguins. So I like an assortment of those bets. Then let's go to a place that you don't want to go to, you probably never went to, and you probably never will go to. That's like the opposite of Bret the Hitman Hart. The worst there is, the worst there was, and the worst there ever will be. Columbus, Ohio. Hey, I've never been there. I'm not going to pass judgment about Columbus, Ohio. The only thing I know about Columbus, Ohio is that I find it absolutely hysterical that they have this whole litany of Russians on the team. When you think about guys coming over from the KHL or a bunch of players being drafted from Russia, you always just assume, all right, put them on the Devils, put them on the Rangers, put them on the Islanders, put them on some coastal cities close to some Russian communities. No, then you got Voronkov, Chinikov, Marchenko, Provorov, all out there in Columbus. I would love to know what they're doing on a Thursday night. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. We all know what Nichushkin was doing in Colorado on that one Saturday night, but with all that aside, I want to talk about these Columbus Blue Jackets for a couple of reasons. Number one, they're playing the Chicago Blackhawks, one of the worst teams in the NHL. Pittsburgh's one of the worst teams in the NHL, and so are the Chicago Blackhawks. Number two, my good friend Canada Chris, who always gives me these interesting sniffs. He's always in those bunkers. I love fellow bunker guys. He's so in the bunkers, he told me before the tournament, I like Zach Werenski, most points, Team USA. Not only did he have most points for Team USA, he had most points in the entire tournament. And this same friend told me, look at this value on Columbus to make the playoffs. And what, are you about to start cursing at the screen? Look at the standings. They're right in that muck with all the other teams. We already know that they have a Norris candidate in Werenski playing the best hockey of his career. And now you're probably going to say, but they lost their best player in Marchenko before the break, and then there was no Sean Monahan. Well, turns out, I don't know what cream he rubbed on himself, But Marchenko is poised to return. He practiced right back on that top line. So they're getting Marchenko back. Not just him. Remember old Boone Jenner? He's actually coming back, and now they have him to slot in that top 6. And I'm sure eventually Monahan's going to come back. That's a pretty decent roster. They have just as good of a chance as all those other teams. But look at the value that you're getting, plus 600 something. Remember, they don't need to make the playoffs for you to make money on this bet. All they need to do is have one good stretch where it looks like they're going to make the playoffs, and then you can guarantee yourself profits on that ticket. So a smart sniff brought to my attention by my old guy, Canada Chris, up there in those Canada bunkers. But then again, I know you people. You won't even put a Pop-Tart in your toaster because it takes too long. I need something right now. You need quick sniffs. You need quick hits. Any sort of patience or waiting or working hard. No, that's not you. You want things quick and you want them now, the full Veruca Salt. Well, I just told you that top line's back together. They played fantastic in essentially every game they played together. They're at home, where they've been scoring a lot more than on the road. They have a matchup against Chicago, who's actually been okay defensively. But like I said, these goalies haven't played in a while. The players haven't played. Are they really going to be that focused on attention to detail in this first game back? I think Columbus is set up well to score some goals in this game. And give me those guys, Voronkov, Fantilli, both for a point. That puts you at like plus 140. I think that's likely in this game. That's where the best values are for you new sniffers. You can take Columbus to win. How you feeling about those odds? The next best thing would be to take Columbus over 3.5 goals. But because Chicago sometimes gets in these crusty, low-scoring games, I'm going to trust that the offense generated by Columbus is going to come through that top line. So give me Voronkov, give me Fantilli, both for a point that's like plus 140. Now, what else do you guys like? I know you like those narratives. That's like the food that you know isn't good for you, but you can't stop yourself. Oh, I saw that Sam Reinhart in road games in Anaheim going back to 21. He doesn't go over 2.5 shots. Look at how much of a donkey I am. I'll feed you a narrative play, but the reason that I like it is kind of separate from the reason that you may like it. Now, you may look at someone like Leon Draisaitl, someone who had to watch Connor McDavid win I was going to say gold, but win the air of Four Nations Air. He won the Four Nations Air, and you have Draisaitl sitting there, or I'm going to call him Rantanen number 2, sitting there saying, oh, I want my credit. I want to show that I'm the front runner for MVP. So I'm going to come back with a bang. Well, on the flip side of things, Connor McDavid, who played like 20-something minutes, 24, 25 minutes in that game against the U.S., and they be drinking on Thursday night into Friday. And, Connor McDavid, he's in his late 20s now. Those hangovers are going to be about like 2 days or so. Is he really going to be ready to play early on Saturday? I don't know. I don't know. Is he even going to play? Are they going to give him a game off? All I'm trying to say is this game sets up well for Leon Draisaitl, because I don't know how much they're going to run McDavid out there at all. Like, is he even going to play? So I think this price that we're getting, like plus 115 for Draisaitl, over 1.5 points, and then point to that aforementioned detail I gave you about most of these goalies coming in cold. And then you have a guy like Draisaitl who's been at practice for the last couple of days, ready to go. I think Draisaitl is set up well here to go over 1.5 points, like plus 115 or something. We will see what Connor McDavid's status is. And then another narrative play that I know you guys like, oh, he's playing his old team that didn't sign him, and watch how angry he is. That's how hockey works. That's how it works. Like, you know what? I really wasn't going to dig in today, but now that I'm playing my old team, you can see the real me. All that stuff is garbage. Sometimes you can have a 4-point game against your old team. Sometimes you only get one shot on goal, you get nothing. You get nothing and like it. But with that said, you have a team, Florida Panthers, they sent a lot of guys to that tournament. The most of any team in the NHL. A lot of guys played some hockey. Guys like Bennett, they're coming back. I mean, we know Matthew Tkachuk, he's not even going to play in this game. So something tells, are you going to get the best Panthers effort in this first game back? We have a former Panther on the other team who runs one of the power plays. Sometimes it's the top. I mean, they have one of these mishmash power plays. But an offensive defenseman in B.Montour back in his old building against the Panthers. Mostly because I don't think the Panthers are necessarily going to be at their sharpest in this game. I like him going over 2.5 shots on goal. It's like plus 120. I kind of like that one. You can use it as a narrative play. I'm looking at it as the Panthers may kind of have a semi-mail-in coming off this Four Nations thing. So over 2.5 shots on goal for B.Montour. And then lastly, the thing that you want, you love it the most. I don't know why. All money lines, donkey plays, but I'm looking at players who played in that tournament. Maybe not going to be at their best. Well, look at the Boston Bruins. They're not going to have Charlie McAvoy. I told you about Connor McDavid having a 2-day hangover. What about late 30s Marchand? He'll be hungover till next week. And you have a pretty short-handed Boston team. A Boston team where if I told you to bet on the other side, come on, man, bet Anaheim against Boston. Look at their, they pretty much have the same record, same amount of losses. So I think Anaheim could be worth a sniff. It's a pretty decent price you're getting here against a Boston team who's going to be without McAvoy, definitely. Maybe without Marshall. We don't know which players are going to be playing in this first game back. But even if he plays, it's a pretty exhausting game the other night. And it just reeks of a mail-in by some of these players who played in such a high-stakes game, now going back to game 60 of the regular season. So, I don't know. Maybe look for an Anaheim upset there against the Boston Bruins. That's what I have for you here. On the first day bet, you didn't think you were getting that Saturday video because normally I do Monday through Friday. You probably thought you were waiting until Monday. You get yourself a Saturday video, and now you're all, what about Sunday? No, you get nothing on Sunday. You get a grand total of nothing on Sunday, unless you come join the Patreon where I will put out my Sunday sniffs. I'll put out my Sunday spreadsheet of player props, which is over plus 250 units up for the season. Oh, you must be lying. It's not like, oh, yes, I provide all those every single day. So that's up plus 250 units on the season. I will have that there. And also,
you have to snipe the like button on this video and leave a comment down below. Do not be a gargoyle. You see the palm trees there? There might be some in there at night. You don't have to be one. Do not be a gargoyle. Subscribe to Andy's channel for the most entertaining NHL sniffs on YouTube. Make sure you do it.
What was that ruckus?